Welcome to the Troy City Council meeting of December 15th, 2014. We are pleased this evening to have Councilman Fleming lead us in the invocation. If you would please rise for that and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this country that we live in, Father, and the freedoms that we have to assemble without fear, Lord, to meet and worship where we want, Father. We're just thankful for this community and the diversity that we have, Lord, and just pray that you'll just continue to bless this community, Father. We just thank you for the leadership of the city staff and the firemen, the police that work so hard and put their lives on the line every day for us, Lord. We just thank you for all the residents, Father. And Father, everything you do is orderly manner, and from the time you created the earth, Father, we just pray that this meeting will go in accordance with your will in an orderly manner. These things we pray in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and thank you, Councilman Fleming. Troy City Council meeting is now called to order. The roll call, Ms. Bittner.
Mayor Slater?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Here.
Councilmember Fleming?
Here.
Councilmember Henderson?
Here.
Councilmember Hoderick? Here. Councilmember Pennington?
Here.
Councilmember Teets?
Here. All present. Our first order of the business this evening is to do interviews for City Council member candidates. So just a couple of rules, I guess. If I could explain to the audience and those at home that we are going to fill the vacancy of Councilman Fleming with the same rules and procedure that we used to fill the vacancy that was created with my withdrawal and the appointment of Councilman Pennington. We will give each candidate an opportunity to answer one question from each council member. They will be given 2 minutes for each one of those answers. We will ask the same questions to each candidate so that it is fair. Those candidates are being sequestered back in a room, so they will not hear any of the questions beforehand. So, having said that, I would ask Ms. Bittner to bring in the first candidate, Steve Gottlieb.
Mr. Gottlieb, excuse me, Mr. Gottlieb is here.
Good evening, Steve.
Good evening.
As I indicated, there will be one question from each council member, and if you could allot your answers to 2 minutes for each question, we would appreciate it. There is a timer on the podium for your reference if you wish to look. And before we start with the first question, if you just tell us a little bit about yourself for the audience and council.
Sure. Well, first I want to say congratulations to Councilman Fleming on the election, and thank you all for the opportunity to have an opportunity to serve with you. That said, tell you a little bit about myself. I have been in Troy since 1974. I have a couple of different hats I wear as a teacher since 1974 at Troy Athens High School, 36 years of residency in Troy, and also as a business owner. So those are the different hats, I suppose, that you might say. I currently live North Troy. As a teacher, I have served on the Athens High School school improvement, also on the district-wide, the district school improvement, or what you guys are probably familiar as NCA, North Central. and let's see, been a member of the visiting team. We went and visited the other side of the state for the North Central also, visiting another school district where we were charged with reviewing their processes and learning about that district and analyzing and then presenting a report so they would receive North Central accreditation. I have also got the responsibility now of being, for the past decade, the grievance chair for the Troy Education Association. And recently had an opportunity to attend a 3-day training for Planning Commission members that was incredibly informative. Probably I've left off some stuff, but that's the big picture.
Okay, thank you. I will ask the first question.
Okay?
And Steve, references are important to the interview process, especially when there isn't time for a thorough interview. Please tell us who you chose as your references for your questionnaire and why you selected them and what they would say about you.
Okay. The 3 people I chose were Krista Manfredi, who I'm pretty sure you guys know you had a award for 40 years of service. She's the theater teacher at Troy Athens. We both started teaching in 1974-75 school year together. Krista and myself are the only 2 original members of that staff at Athens from when we started. Amy Olson, who runs the food service program for Troy Schools, and I would highly recommend anybody go visit that, the Terrace Cafe. It's an outstanding place for lunch, and they place a lot of, I get a lot of my co-op students from that spot. And Ron Bostic, business owner in Troy, who is one of the first students I had. He also was in the first class that I taught in Troy. And why I chose them? Well, Krista, just to, in case you wanted to follow up and check, that would be somebody you could talk to that would tell you that over the past 4 decades, we've maintained a very positive relationship and focused on student learning and building our programs and working with students so that they're successful. And what she would say is, managed to maintain that relationship through a lot of different changes. Amy Olson, also a co-worker. I chose her because I thought, well, if you want to follow up, you could certainly see that I draw a lot of my co-op students from her program. We place many students in jobs, and we put them in jobs. We try and keep it in Troy, and a lot of her students get jobs through the co-op program, and a relatively newer staff member. And Ron Bostic, because he's a business owner and first started as a student and gotten to know and maintain that communication for many years. And what he would say is, if after 40 years, and he currently owns the Troy Sports Center, your Zamboni quit at 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and you need somebody to fix it, you could call your old auto mechanics instructor and have him come fix it for you. So,
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Campbell.
Hi, Steve. How are you tonight?
good, thank you.
Hope you're feeling better.
It's better every day. It's
Good.
just,
Steve, in your opinion, what has been the best or most important thing to happen in Troy over the last few years? And what do you see as the most important issue facing Troy in the future?
well, so 2 parts, the best and most important thing, and then the challenges in the future. So the best and most important, and I think all the residents have benefited, is what's right in front of me. We have a city council and administration that has done an outstanding job to, you brought forth things like we've managed to maintain the library. We've built a transit center. We've got a $24.7 million fund equity. We have I think, probably the envy of many of the surrounding communities, both for infrastructure, safe cities, a great place to, as we say, live, learn, and work. The challenges would be exactly what I said. I asked to have a meeting with Mr. Krishnick, our city manager, and during that meeting, I had initially had some questions, and then the real question I asked was, well, are you going to stay? Because the work that we've done collectively as a city, in my position as I serve on the Planning Commission, I see some of the things that are developing in the city, and I see the work that's been done, and I think that, if I was another surrounding community, I'd try and poach the administration. So I think the challenges we collectively face are being able to maintain what we have. We've done an outstanding job of building our community.
Thanks, Steve.
Councilmember Henderson.
Steve, one of the biggest things that we have in front of us annually is the budget. And my question is, as well as all the expenditures every meeting that we are faced with, what do you feel your role and responsibility as a council member should be with regard to those two things?
To clarify, what would my role as a council member be with respect to the budget?
The budget and oversight of the budget.
Well, to be a participant with it's only one voice, but to be a participant in the stewardship that we've demonstrated, maintaining a zero debt ratio and having a substantial fund balance, I see my role in that is monitoring and maintaining what's going on to keep up the work we've done. And as an example of that, if I could point out to something that, in a conversation that you and I had, one of the things you mentioned was, it was a small item, but I perceive that all of us collectively have a much better handle on what goes on than one individual. So many eyes looking at something would find something, for example, like one of the things you mentioned was presented with a budget where we were going to be replacing fire stations. And in that budget was a small item that referenced tuck pointing on bricks. And when you look at that and you say, well, it's not a ton of money, and it wasn't a ton of money, but it's going to be demolished. Why would you tuck point the bricks on a building that's going to be demolished? And, having multiple eyes looking at it, you'll always get a better result. So those things I would like to be a participant in and share my views with the rest of you who have done a wonderful job with that. So that would be an example of a small thing.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Hi, Steve.
Hi.
Nice to see you here.
Good to be here.
Tri-City Charter calls for the members of its city council to be nonpartisan. What is your opinion of this requirement, and how can we expect you to approach the council role if you are selected to serve?
Well, there's no question that it is a nonpartisan position, but I will tell you, through so many of the door knocking and door-to-door and just independent conversations I've had with many community members, people always want to ask you, are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? What's your position on this? And my answer is consistent, and that is I try and look at the individual or the circumstances or whatever issue is on the table, analyze it in terms of the data that you're being given, and make a decision based on the best available information. So I don't check box party line. I look at the issues or the individual and the information that we can glean from that and make a decision that I think is in the best interests of all community members, all residents. So sometimes it may not be my personal feeling, but you try and bring into that all the information when you represent a larger community.
Councilmember Pennington.
Steve, I want to thank you for your willingness to serve the city of Troy. How will your past work experiences assist you in your job as council member?
Well, I think that the thing that I bring in terms of past experiences are, one of the things that impressed me was, as a planning commission member, we've attended One Stop Ready, which is an initiative at the Oakland County Executive Building, and it's Brooks Patterson's office. And in fact, I was amazed when you recognize that this is voluntary. Nobody forced me or any of the other people to go. And we had council members attending. We had staff attending on their own dime. They're not compensated. You're talking, the fire chief was there, city administration showed up, planning commission members were there. And one of the things that came out of that meeting was that we have to represent, and we are only here to service our residents, that the needs of the residents, those are our customers. So some of the information gleaned from that training is that you want to be responsive to the needs of your community. I think that as a business owner, and I've worn that hat in Troy, I have been on the other side of the desk when you're applying for permits or trying to get building or zoning information or talking to city management to further a business interest. So I've looked at it from that perspective, even as yourself as a business owner, As a member of planning, we've had the opportunity to go out and look at things. And, one of the things that, I mentioned data-driven decisions. We had a situation where there was an individual that came before us. They were dissatisfied with something that was going on. And what we did, had the opportunity as planning commission members, go out and visit the site. And we had really impassioned pleas from people on either side of this issue. But we had an opportunity to go out there with decibel meters and listen to the noise and look at the environment and make decisions based on what the ordinances said, and fitting into that our intent to honor the master plan, which we've constantly revised.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Teets.
Good evening. You've run for city council before.
Yes, sir.
So why did you initially run for a position on city council?
I wanted to be part of this team. I've benefited personally from living, working in Troy. And I think that there's a lot that could be done. I'd like to have a seat at the table. I look at the population, the demographic that I am, and some of the information that has been presented to us, for example, on Planning Commission, where there are people that are currently living in Troy and don't feel that there are great housing opportunities for individuals as they have families, that the children that leave our outstanding, excellent schools, and then they're left with not as much need for large square footage homes. There's not really good housing availability for that demographic that's coming up. I'd like to be part of that conversation. I see myself as not wanting to leave Troy, but I also look at, this recently empty nester. You're going to be looking at, do you want to maintain that house? Those are the kinds of decisions. So the short answer is I see Troy as an outstanding place to live and work, and I want to participate. I want to be part of that conversation.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Steve. That concludes our questions. If people are wondering why Councilman Fleming is not asking questions tonight, he is prohibited by charter, but it's nice to have him up here with us anyway. So thank you, Steve. Good job.
Well, thank you. And I've met the other candidates. You guys got your work cut out for you.
I hope your knee heals better so you can get off that crutch.
Every day's better than the day before. Thank you.
Thank you. I see that our next candidate, Padma Kupa, is here. Good evening, Padma.
Good evening, Mayor Slater and council members.
If I could, before we start our questioning, You will receive one question from each council member, and if you could limit your answer to 2 minutes, that would be greatly appreciated. And before we start, if we could, I'd give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Is that my timer right there?
That is your timer, I'm sorry, on there, but when you talk about yourself, we're not going to start the time yet.
Okay. All right. I'm Padma Kupa. I've been a resident here in Troy for over 16 years. I moved here from New York with my husband. We've made Troy our home with our 2 children, who are both products of the Troy School District. Our daughter is a freshman in a college in Pennsylvania, and our son is a junior. We are very happy to be residents of a warm, inclusive, diverse community like Troy. I have volunteered starting from when my children were in elementary school with the school district, serving, my last position was as executive board member of the PTA in the schools, and then I also have done a lot of work within my faith community. For 15 years, I've been a volunteer with the Parthia Temple, and of course, for the city, I served on the Futures Commission, Lifetime Learning Committee with Wade's wife, Paula. I've also served on the MLK Committee and done a wide variety of boards, starting with the Ethnic Issues Advisory Board, and most recently was the speaker at the Troy Community Coalition's Prayer Breakfast. So I'm very committed to this community, and I'm very honored to be here this evening. Thank you all for down-selecting me to be one of the finalists.
Thank you, Padma. I'll ask the first question. And all of the questions are the same for each candidate, so there's no variation from the questions. Padma, references are important to the interview process, especially when there isn't time for a thorough interview. Please tell us who you chose as your references for your questionnaire, why you selected them, and what they would say about you.
I selected 3 friends and also, I would say, colleagues. The first one is Michelle Haight. She is a very good friend, as well as she and I did a lot of work together for an organization called Team Troy, where we worked with the school district to do inclusion kind of work so that people knew in the school district, knew what they were who they were teaching, who was part of their community. She and I have also been parents together at the middle school level and actually started the first Baker World Tour, where she and I represented a country that we're all very proud of, the United States. And I gave Michael Silverstein as my second reference. I know him through the work I do with the interfaith community. He is a good friend also, and understands how I've taken on things that could potentially be controversial and brought harmony and understanding across different groups of individuals. And then the last person that I've given is a former boss. It's always good to give someone that you've worked for as a reference, I believe. They can speak to how well you are as an employee, and also to your work ethic and your commitment. And so Phil Rosette of Group 41, we also serve together, not serve together, but work together as in a writers group. Both of us have a common interest in writing. And so Phil knows me also as a carpool person, because we worked together to get our kids back and forth to school. So.
Thank you. Great. Mayor Pro Tem Campbell.
Hi, Padma. How are you?
Good evening.
In your opinion, what has been the best and the most important thing to happen in Troy over the last few years, and what do you see as the most important issue facing Troy in the future?
I think one of the most important things that has happened in Troy over the last few years is the healing of the community in the last couple of years. I think that this council has set back the tone of nonpartisanship and understanding and mutual respect that is required in a council, and to be able to govern also in times of difficulty as well as in times of surplus or when we are in a more financially stable situation. As far as future, I think that is one of the key things, is to stay on that route of sustainability, putting together an annual budget for the city that reflects what we are capable of achieving.
Thank you. Very good.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson.
Hi, Padma. Speaking of budgets, every year that's our biggest project ongoing is the annual budget, all the expenditures that come in front of us every meeting that we have to approve. What do you feel your role and responsibility as a council member should be?
I think my role as a council member is to ensure that we spend money that we have and not to endanger our AAA bond rating, and also to support the 11 goals that we've laid out for ourselves, starting with the transit center all the way through to sustaining good services, and to find ways to continue to grow sources of revenue as a city.
Thank you. Councilmember Hoderick.
Hello, Padma. It's good to see you here. That's going to be a common refrain from me tonight because we have great candidates, but it is good to see you here, and we appreciate you stepping up. Troy's city charter calls for the members of its city council to be nonpartisan. What is your opinion of this requirement, and how can we expect you to approach the council role if you are selected to serve?
It's a great question. I am not Democrat or Republican. I bring to the table a very independent approach. I am not partisan, and I believe that is very much in line with what I do both at work as a representative of Chrysler. I work on a global project with Fiat, and so I am asked to put forth not only my interests as a Chrysler employee, but as a global employee of Fiat Chrysler Automotive. And I think that that willingness to work across the needs of both companies is something that I would bring. It's not a preference for one or the other. It is always to be inclusive and to find a harmony and mutual understanding.
Thank you. Councilman Pennington.
Padma, good to see you again. Thank you also for your willingness to serve the city of Troy. My question is, how will your past work experiences assist you in your job as council member?
Well, I just told you about my current work experiences, so I would say that all the projects that I have taken on speak to the need for ensuring that we work in a team approach, and work with people that we may not always agree with on everything, but to be able to build alliances. I have also worked a lot in technology, so I know that one of our 11 goals in our city vision is to ensure that we use technology wisely. And I also think that to include the diversity and all of the diverse communities that I've worked with, that would be the ability to work across diverse groups of people is something that I would bring to the table.
Thank you.
Councilmember Teets.
Yes, thank you for coming tonight. Have you run for city council before?
I have not.
Okay.
In fact, in the room back there, I was mentioning that the first time I ever ran for anything, it was when I was in 8th grade. I ran for Latin Club president, so.
Fair enough. So my question is, why have you never run for a position on city council?
The time was not right. I had young children in the home to take care of. I also had health issues. And so my career is now in a stable position. Talked to my boss about the fact that I'm doing this, both the one at home as well as the one at work. So the time is right now, I think.
Thank you, Padma. Councilman Fleming doesn't get the opportunity to ask questions because he is resigning from his seat. So thank you so much. Good job.
Thank you.
And we'll be making our decision later. Thank you. Our next candidate is Paul McCown. Paul, if you would come to the podium. Good evening.
Good evening.
Just a couple of issues before we get started. Each council member will ask one question, the same questions that were asked to the other candidates, so there won't be any discrepancy in the questions. We would ask if you could limit your answers to 2 minutes. And before we get started, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thank you for being here, everyone. My name is Paul McCown. I've lived in Troy for the past 17 years. I have an undergraduate degree in math and philosophy and a graduate degree in public policy and economics. I'm currently a senior financial analyst for International Bankcard Corporation in Clawson, right at Maple and Crooks. I have an almost 2-year-old boy and a 2-week-old son who is keeping me up all night long. That's just a bit about me. I'm currently on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I've been there for a little over a year. That's a bit about me.
Thank you. I will ask the first question. Paul, references are important to the interview process, especially when there isn't time for a thorough interview. Please tell us who you chose as your references for your questionnaire, why you selected them, and what they would say about you.
Okay. I think I had 4. The first one was Mike Bishop. Mike is a colleague of mine. He is a congressman-elect for the 8th Congressional District. It's Rochester, parts of Oakland County, and then parts of Ingham County. I picked Mike because he and I work pretty closely together, and he has a good understanding of me professionally. I think he would say that I'm pretty knowledgeable in the areas of finance and accounting. Experience in those areas. That's the first one. I picked Wade Fleming. Wade and I have become friends over the recent past. I picked him because he understands the city of Troy very well, and I think he knows me as a person. And I picked Dave Henderson for most of the same reasons. He understands kind of the political workings of the city of Troy and how the city council relates to the community, and I think he would say I'm interested in giving back to the community and helping out. And the last person I picked was Sam Lamorato. He's literally known me my entire life. He's my uncle. I picked him because he's been an employee of the city for, I think, 30-ish years and knows the community very well, knows what it's like to be a public servant, and knows me very well. And so I think that he would be able to be a good judge of my desire to give back to the community.
Great, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Campbell.
Hi, Paul. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. In your opinion, what has been the best and most important things to happen in Troy over the last few years, and what do you see as the most important issue facing Troy in the future?
That's a good question.
Well, thank you.
Well, some of the best things, I would say the biggest thing I would focus on is the harmony that I've seen on city council and the city leadership as well, really from the top down, from city staff, people I've interacted with just as a local citizen, to the mayor's office, the city manager. I think that there's a good teamwork mentality, and I think that's very important in looking forward. I think that's important to maintain. One particular focus of mine, given my financial background, is I think that there's a sound budget process in place, and there has been in the recent past. A good focus on our bond rating and how that's important impacts the city, and a good understanding of what our financial outlook is. I think it's important to maintain that going forward. That's what I think would be my biggest focus.
Great. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Henderson.
Good evening. With regard to the annual budget and all the expenditures that come to us for approval every meeting, what do you feel your role and responsibility as a council member should be?
I would say first, responsibility. The biggest thing to keep in mind in my understanding is that this is people's money that you're responsible for and you're accountable for. And it's important to protect it while at the same time providing good quality services for the city. So going through, I was a member a few weeks ago, the financial ideas team, where the city manager presented just a total budget outlook and overview for the city. And it's as nitty-gritty and detailed and important as going through each line item and saying, this is a line item budget expense, this is a line item budget revenue piece. Is it necessary? If it is, keep it. In kind of understanding that balance between good services for the city and kind of keeping in mind the cost piece of that as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Hoderick.
Paul, it's good to see you here.
Good to see you too.
Thank you for stepping up. Troy's city charter calls for the members of its city council to be nonpartisan. What is your opinion of this requirement, and how can we expect you to approach the council role if you are selected to serve?
That's a good question. I think it's very important. In my understanding, you have to keep in mind also what the city charter defines the city council's responsibility to provide good leadership for the community, and it's a council of peers. So the way I understand that is these people are your friends, they're your neighbors, or people you go to church with, people you go to school with, people you work with, and it doesn't really translate into partisan politics, in my understanding. I think it can. I don't think that's appropriate, because these decisions that are made on the council aren't made based on whether they fall into one party line or the other, but how are they going to impact my community? How are they going to impact my friends? How are they going to impact my neighbors? That's kind of the decisions and the questions that I think you would need to be asking yourself before you make a decision. Not, is this in line with my party beliefs or whatever? That's my approach, and that's what I would take if I were appointed. And that's kind of how I see the city council's role in terms of how it shakes out with party politics.
Thank you. Councilmember Pennington.
Paul, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thanks for your willingness to step up and serve the city of Troy. My question is, how will your past work experiences serve you in your job as council member?
It's a good question. Again, given my financial background, I think that will be extremely valuable. I would say I have a very detailed understanding of financial workings and how budgets work. That's literally, I do that every single day in and day out. Understanding kind of what are the things that pull each other in terms of a budget, how is it structured, and I think that's important to keep in mind given where Troy is, where we've been. We're in a very good, solid financial situation. We have a AAA bond rating, which is very important to maintain. The way I think about that, just on that note, is that it's like your credit rating. So the better your bond rating is, the better rate you'll get for debt, and ultimately that impacts the tax rate in people's pocketbooks. So it's important to be responsible and have a good understanding of how finance works when you form a budget. And I think that given my past experience in finance, my current experience in finance, that will be helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Teets.
You haven't run for city council before?
I have not.
Okay. Why have you never run for a position on city council?
Well, I've never run before for a few reasons. First, I wanted to get a little bit more professional experience just in terms of finance and understanding how that works. Given that was my education, I wanted to get a solid background and experience under my feet before I took that out to a public forum. The other thing, I also wanted to get more experience from a public perspective as well. Given my time on the Zoning Board of Appeals, it was a big jump going from not making public decisions to making decisions that impact other people. And really, that experience has been critical in helping form, what I think about and what I question before trying to tackle a public decision. So in the past, I didn't feel like I was ready, to make those decisions. But given the experience I've acquired, I feel like now's a good time. But that's why I haven't run in the past.
Thank you, Paul. That concludes our questions. Councilman Fleming doesn't get an opportunity to ask because he's resigning his position. But thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is James Peard, and if we could ask Mr. Peard to come to the podium. Good evening.
Good evening.
Our process is that each council member will ask you one question, and if you could keep your answers to about 2 minutes for each question, we would appreciate that. So, and before we start, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, James.
Well, I've lived in Troy for 40 years. 2 children, boy and a girl. They graduated from Athens High School, got excellent educations, and went on to have successful careers that all started here. I've worked for the Beaumont Health System for 40 years, or for 32 years, but I've lived here 40. This is home. This is a retirement destination for my wife and I, and so I feel very strongly about pursuing this opportunity because we're Troy people.
Great. Thank you. I'll ask the first question. James, references are important to the interview process, especially when there isn't time for a thorough interview. Please tell us who you chose as your references for your questionnaire, why you selected them, and what they would say about you.
Well, I selected 3. Henry Alleman, who's a former member of this council, Terry Knight, who's a long-time resident of this city, and Larry Kiesling, who was a planning director for the city of Troy for a long time. These are people that know me quite well, and I've been in the Kiwanis Club with all 3 of them for a long time. I've been a Kiwanis member since 1977, and they are people that just quite frankly know me the best. And what they would say about me is that I'm somebody who's has served as a president of the Kiwanis Club. I've been very active in the scholarship program that the Kiwanis Club operates. I chair that, have for the last 14 years. And they would tell you that I'm somebody who is very appreciative of the opportunities that my wife and I and our family have had being residents of this city, and we care very much about staying here and making it better.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Campbell.
Good evening, James. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. In your opinion, what has been the best and most important thing to happen in Troy over the last few years, and what do you see as the most important issue facing Troy for the future?
Well, I think one of the most significant things, and I will tell you that when I found out I was going to get this opportunity, I spent about 45 minutes with the city manager about a week ago, and I kind of asked him, picking his brain as to what he thought some of the more intense issues coming before this body this year were. But I think when you look at some of the where we've been, and you look at what the city had to ride through with the recession, to do all that and maintain a AAA bond rating and not have to sacrifice a lot of the things that had been deemed important for the city moving forward is very significant. I don't think there's too many communities, certainly in this state, can boast of that kind of record, and I think that the people serving on the council should be very proud of that accomplishment.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
One of the biggest challenges that we have every year is the annual budget, as well as every meeting we have several budget issues, purchase issues that we take a look at. What do you feel your role and responsibility as a council member should be with regard to those things?
Well, I had a chance to review the document that was prepared for the budget consideration. One of the things that really impressed me about it is the fact that I thought that the integration between strategies going forward, or your long-term strategic business plan, if you want to form an analogy with the private sector, and the integration of the capital expense budget in that document were very, very outstanding. And I can tell you that in 32 years with the Beaumont system, that's one of the things that Beaumont has done well. And that's why the system is in the position it's in today. And so I think that's something that I can bring to the council, because I recognize that that's a very important role. And certainly going forward, there is, well, something my former boss of mine said, if there's no margin, there's no mission. So you can have the best 11 strategies going forward, but without integrity of your budgeting process and the management of that, there is no mission.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hoderick.
Hello, James.
Hi.
It's great to see you here.
Likewise.
Thank you for putting yourself out there to step up and offer your service. Troy City's charter calls for the members of its city council to be nonpartisan. What is your opinion of this requirement, and how can we expect you to approach the council role if you are selected to serve?
Well, I think it's very important. I think for the first and foremost is the fact that when I read the Code of Ethics for the council, I think when you're in a nonpartisan environment, the things that you want to encourage in terms of free exchange of ideas and developing a concept of teamwork, that is best served in a nonpartisan environment. And I think that's what I think the private sector enjoys, is you're in more of a nonpartisan environment. And I think when you can translate that into the public sector, that's a win-win.
Thank you. Councilmember Pennington.
James, it's nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Thank you for your willingness to step up and help the city of Troy. So you've already touched on some of this part of my question, but if you can just explain a little bit further, how will your past work experiences assist you in your job as council member?
Well, I spent 12 years on the administrative staff when Troy Beaumont opened. I was part of a team that was involved in the design, construction, and then making the hospital operational when it opened in 1977.
James, could you use the mic because we're recording this? Thank you.
Sure. And in 1989, my boss had gone back to Royal Oak to assume the directorship there. And I went back and joined the team there. Now, one of the things that started to happen on the Royal Oak Beaumont campus, and if you're familiar with it, it's landlocked, has neighborhoods on two sides, Coolidge and 13 Mile on the other. And what had begun to happen is that the density of services, outpatient services, were beginning to grow. Hospital ran a very high occupancy. And the hospital began to experience some problems of accessibility and wayfinding for patients and visitors coming on that campus. And so one of the things we had to really start doing in earnest was figure out a way to decompress that core hospital, get some of the outpatient services that were fragmented in the building centralized, improve access and wayfinding for people coming on that campus, and try to get them in a more comfortable setting. Now, as I look at what the council and the city are looking at with this Big Beaver Corridor project, I see some of those same things. You're striving to improve the accessibility of pedestrian traffic, of vehicular traffic, to access services and businesses on both sides of that. That's some of the same thing that I've had to work with in the private sector, and it's one of the things that I feel I can really contribute as a council member, because I've got a mindset for that I worked with for 20 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Teets.
You haven't run for city council before?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So why have you never run for a position on city council before?
Well, I'm not sure I can tell you that I intended to do it this time, but you know what happened is when I found out there was the vacancy, my wife said to me, she said, "Why don't you apply?" And I looked at her, she said, "Yes, you should." So then we had a discussion about why I should do that. And I just have to say that I think that the reasons that I'm here tonight are not things that were really knockout things years ago, when I feel much more strongly about doing it now than when I was younger. So
Timing's right. Thank you, James. Councilmember Fleming does not ask questions because he is resigning his position, but thank you for your time. Good job.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
I appreciate the opportunity to come before you, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Steve Toth. Good evening, Steve. If you could come to the podium, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good to see everybody.
Nice to see you. Steve, each member is going to ask you a question. If you could, please try to limit your answer to 2 minutes or less. And before we get going, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a resident of Troy for 24 years. Came to Michigan as the director of the Birmingham YMCA with a wife and 3 children in tow. When we looked at moving to Birmingham or the surrounding communities, we found out that we couldn't afford to live in Birmingham, and luckily found Troy and found a community with great schools. And that transition, in essence, ended where we've been very active in a community that has been very good to us. In my time being here as a resident, I've spent 16 years as the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club. Many of you have seen me a number of times up here with a number of thanks and other issues, but I always enjoyed working with council. I have 3 grown children. One lives in the suburbs of Chicago, one is doing very well there, one in the suburbs of Phoenix, and my youngest son is now looking for employment as any young person when those things happen in this kind of economy. I've been retired now for 2.5 years. I've enjoyed still doing some volunteering in the community as especially with the Kiwanis Club, and maintaining my friends and taking advantage of the opportunity of traveling. So in essence, Troy's been a great community for me, and I think it's been a very good partnership for the things that I've been able to help with the city as well.
Thank you, Steve. I will ask the first question. There is a timer on the podium there
shouldn't be a problem,
to aid you. So, Steve, references are important to the interview process, especially when there isn't time for a thorough interview. Please tell us who you chose as your references on your questionnaire, why you selected them, and what they would say about you.
I chose basically neighbors, people that have seen me on a daily basis, whether it's in the neighborhood or a church or in the community. Some of those references are those who were on my board at the Boys and Girls Club. So these are people that I've had a high level of interaction, where in a partnership we've always support each other. Neighbors keep an eye on other neighbors' houses. When we travel, help each other with a mail. Someone's ill, we help with the transportation. When we look at folks that are from the board of the Boys and Girls Club, I had the opportunity of working with a lot of great adults, volunteers who felt that the mission of the Boys and Girls Club was something that they wanted to partner with me and my staff, and those who are already in leadership and felt that the opportunity of working together, we would be able to accomplish a lot, as you probably know what we've accomplished in the development of a new Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Campbell.
Hi, Steve. How are you tonight?
Mr. Campbell, fine.
See you. In your opinion, what's been the best and most important things to happen in Troy over the last few years, and what do you see as the most important item facing Troy in the future?
I think when we had the economic crunch of 2008, we found out that there were a lot of good things in Troy, but we had to do things a little better, a little different, and we had to make a lot of hard decisions. You folks had to make those decisions, because as you looked at changing the dynamics of how some of our departments worked in the city, some of them became privatized. That meant some people did not continue their employments, and in fact impacted families. So I think that as you went through the hard time, you all worked together. You all looked out for each other. You looked out not only for residents, but you also worked in tandem with the employees and staff that really care about what they do for the residents. And I think we all came out better with better services, more efficiencies, and with the new leadership with Brian as our city manager, I even see a high level of enthusiasm, an energy level that says that we, with the staff, as a group and as residents of a community, can say we are now a better community for what has been accomplished.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
With regard to the annual budget, which is our biggest project of the year typically, and all the expenditures that come in front of us each meeting, what do you feel your role and responsibility as a council member should be?
Well, in my work with nonprofits, I basically had the experience of doing financial turnarounds, taking nonprofits who had difficult financial positions. Like an example, the Boys and Girls Club, when I interviewed for the job in 1996, in the May of 1996, if you remember Eldon Thomas from the SSC Credit Union, he spoke to me and said, Steve, the Boys and Girls Club is in such disarray that we're considering closing the Boys and Girls Club. Why do you want the job? And I said, I enjoy the challenge, and I think with the right mission that we have a chance to do better. And in essence, in that time frame from May till December, and I see Wade shaking his head, we balanced the budget. Not only in that first year, we grew, and we balanced the budget for the entire 16 years. We realized that when you talk about money, you're talking about services. You're talking about people. And when we realized that the facility we were in was inadequate, we realized that we had to look at alternatives. Well, alternatives still means money. And so I've been a financial steward in YMCA's with budgets over $1 million. I've been a steward working with boards and volunteers, raising large millions of dollars to convert that to a new facility, making sure we're operating very well. And what I see is that as a board member or as a council member, we're here to make sure that we maximize our services as efficiently as possible so that our residents feel like they have a quality of life, but we also manage it in a sensible way so that we're fair to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hoderick.
Hi, Steve.
Hello, Ellen.
Over here.
Yep.
It's good to see
They
you.
were bouncing back and forth. I thought there was going to be a ping pong game here, but
Tri-City Charter calls for the members of its city council to be nonpartisan.
correct.
What is your opinion of this requirement, and how can we expect you to approach the council role if you are selected to serve?
When I look at what we do at the city level, we are working most closely with the citizens. I think when we look at what we're providing, what we do in our community, I think we really get into the hearts of our residents more than any level of government. So as we are looking at making decisions, we're making decisions of people that we know live across the streets, live down the block, that are at times we work with, we're friends with. The relationship says that because of the nature of what we're trying to do, we're one big happy family. So I always feel that politics don't belong in a family situation. It belongs in the more natural situations, and what we're trying to do here at this level is to look at how we can be serving our members best because they're part of our family.
Councilmember Pennington.
Steve, good to see you again.
Oh, Ed.
Thank you for your willingness to serve the city. My question is, how will your past work experiences serve you in your job as council member?
As I stated earlier, well, my interest in working in service has gone back to when I've worked at YMCA's in Ohio, where I've been actually on special committees to develop park commissions. I've been involved in my communities in every locale that I've worked, whether it's working through the service organizations or through the city. Can you ask that question one more time? Because I think I'm straying a little bit.
Well, you touched on some of it, but how your past work experiences, how will they assist you moving forward as council member?
I've been able to work, I think, in the roles that I have with people of all backgrounds, all ethnic backgrounds, all income backgrounds. I think I remember times where when I'm working in communities that are more challenged financially, when there's difficulty with some of the folks who communicate with, staff have always asked me to get involved with the process because it seems to be one of my natural skills. So working with YMCA's with kids, from my younger years to working with committees, working with boards, I think there's all that has accumulated into a natural fit that says that I can use those experiences that would be a continuation. While I have, as a retiree, I still have a lot of energy and interest in giving back.
Thank you.
Councilmember Teets.
You haven't run for city council before?
No, I haven't. The only thing I ran for is president of the student council as a junior in high school. it was an interesting experience making a speech to over 3,000 people and faculty back in the 70s. And I lost to the young man who was the quarterback of the football team. The nice part of it was still being involved with student council. Next year, he did a great job. So it was meant to be.
So my question is, why have you never run for a position on city council before?
When I worked in the nonprofit field, I felt that my relationship with the city called for me to have a working relationship, and potentially in the leadership role, I felt there may be too much opportunity for conflict of interest or decision-making, and at that point, running a nonprofit is more than a 40-hour job. So I enjoyed being a resource to this body and to the community staff, and that in itself was very fulfilling for me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That concludes our questions. Councilman Fleming isn't allowed to participate in this process. So thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Scott Wellborn. If we could ask Scott to come to the podium. Good evening.
Let me move that down.
Scott, the process this evening is that each member will ask you one question, the same questions that have been asked to all of the candidates. If you could limit your answers to 2 minutes, we'd greatly appreciate it.
No problem.
And before we get going, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a school teacher. I teach in Ferndale, teach high school civics, American history, and law. I have lived in the city of Troy since 2004. It's where my family and I decided to set up shop, if you will. My 2 kids are now in high school at Troy High. My son's a senior. My daughter is a freshman. Both are involved in athletics there and have done quite well. See what else? I am from Washington State originally, and moved out here to Michigan in 2001 so my wife could go to grad school. My wife, Naomi, is a visual impairment specialist with Oakland Schools, and she travels around and services various school districts.
Thank you. I'll ask the first question. Steve, references are important to the interview process, especially when there isn't time for a thorough interview. Please tell us who you chose as your references on your questionnaire, why you selected them, and what they would say about you.
Sure. I selected first Tim McGee, who is a resident here, longtime resident here, and Marine. Can't say former Marine. He's a retired Marine from way back, but he's somebody that I have come in contact with through the theater, and we've done some golfing together and various things. But he would talk about the upstanding individual that I am and the different things that I do in the community as far as being involved with Ridgedale players and other aspects as well. But just an upstanding citizen, and I thought he was a good person to represent who I was. I also picked Tony Cruzman, another resident here in the city of Troy that I've also acted with at Ridgedale. He's a longtime resident. He's a member of the patrol group, Citizens Patrol Group here in Troy, and I thought that he might be also a good person to have. I've been on stage with him as well as worked in other productions with him and played golf with him from time to time. They're both in the golf league over at Sanctuary Lake. And then I put down the president of the Ridgedale Players, Sandra Deering. Ridgedale recently received an award from the mayor, and I've been there since 2009, involved in that group as part of various committees, including the Play Reading and Casting Committee, the Fundraising Committee, and I do the basic shopping for the group. So she would know all of those different things about me and some positives.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell.
Good evening, Scott. How are you?
Good, thanks.
In your opinion, what has been the best and the most important things to happen in Troy over the last few years? And what do you see as the most important issue facing Troy for the future?
Well, I think some of the different things that are going on right now are extremely good. I like this top 11 strategies that I've seen come out, especially with the fact that a few of those strategies are things that I had down when I was running for both mayor, when Slater was running for mayor, and running also for city council. These are things that I was focusing on, the infrastructure, making sure that the conditions of our roads were good, as well as the sewage and other things. Having sat through some of those meetings, knowing what was going on with our infrastructure is very important to me, that was a big deal. And then the branding of the city, I think, is a great thing that's going on. I think that we needed to market ourselves to various businesses to attract business to the community. That's something that I talked about very vociferously, if you will, while we were campaigning. And then also the redevelopment of underutilized office and business space, something that I also talked about. So these are ideas that I brought to the table, and I see some of those now coming to fruition, and I really appreciate that that's happening with this group.
Thanks. Thank you. Councilmember Henderson.
Hi, Scott. One of the biggest things that we have every year that comes before us is our annual budget, and then every meeting we have a certain amount of things that we look at to approve financially. What do you feel your role and responsibility as a council person should be with regard to those items?
Well, I think you have to be fiscally responsible first as an individual that's on the council, making sure that our city is doing things that are in a fiscally responsible manner. We don't want to overspend. We also don't want to overburden our citizens with tax dollars for things that maybe aren't necessary for what's going on, especially if we can figure out other ways to come about that money, such as some of the grants that we've gotten to improve the roads and other things here in the city. So I think that's an important thing to do. I want to go back to actually Mr. Campbell's question, because he asked what I thought one of the biggest challenges right now in the city. I think it's making sure that the transit center actually gets used and is viable for our future as a city, because it's open, but the amount of use that's going through there is kind of sketchy at the moment. So I'd like to see that, make sure that that gets branded well and used well.
Thank you. Councilmember Hoderick.
Hi.
Hi, Ellen.
Nice to see you again. Troy's city charter calls for the members of its city council to be nonpartisan. What is your opinion of this requirement, and how can we expect you to approach the council role if you are selected to serve?
Well, I think it's a very important piece to being a city council member, is to try and be as nonpartisan as possible. When you look at the politics in our nation, the partisanship has really torn a lot of things apart and kept us from getting things done. I think here on city council, you have to be able to work together, regardless of what your other political views might be, to make the best decisions for the city. When I ran for mayor and as a member of city council, I ran on nonpartisanship. I did not receive money from either side of the political aisle, specifically from this group or that group. It was from a few close friends that were willing to give me a few bucks to put up a yard sign. So I'm very nonpartisan when it comes to that sort of issue. I'm a split-ticket voter, and I think that I would be very level-headed on the council.
Thank you. Councilmember Pennington.
Scott, good to see you again.
Yeah.
Thank you for your willingness to step up again and serve the city of Troy. We appreciate that. Now, you've touched on your drama experience, which that may definitely help you in your job as city council, but what other past work experiences do you think will assist you in your job in city council?
That's a great question. When I was in college, actually, I was the president of my dorm, which doesn't seem like a big deal. But then I also, the next year, became the Residence Hall Council chairman, who was in charge of all of the different dorms on campus, and we had a dozen dorms on campus, 3,500 students at my university. So I was very involved in running council meetings, being a member of those meetings, voting on various issues that affected the students. And while it's not a city, it's like its own small city, being on a college campus. So I have that experience going for me. I also teach government, so I have a very good grasp of what goes on government-wise, not only at the city level, but other levels as well. And I think that having that knowledge is very important.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Teets.
But my question is fairly simple. Why did you initially run for a position on city council?
Well, as a member of the community, I want to be involved and do something to help the community out. And I think that I have a bit of intelligence that I can bring and different thoughts. I'd like to think that I'm kind of a fresh face and have some different ideas that might come to bear. Some of those have already come to bear, even though I'm not on the council. So I think that getting your voice heard and putting it out there is extremely important.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. That concludes our questions. Councilman Fleming doesn't get to participate in this because he is resigning. So thank you for being here tonight, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the candidates that are to be interviewed this evening. And I think I speak for this entire council as you will see why this is going to be such a difficult question and decision for us this evening when we make a decision later on in the council. Next on the agenda is certificates of recognition and special presentations. I'm going to call C1, which is recognition of Petco General Manager Dave Ladge and Manager Jim Maxwell. Are they in the audience? And I would ask Cindy Stewart, the Community Affairs Director, will come to the podium, and I will meet them at the podium.
General Manager Dave Ladge is here, and then we have the women he helped, Amy Dickerson and Vivian
Aylesworth.
You want to go over?
Come on over on this
Go over
side.
that side.
One of the great honors that I have as mayor is I get to recognize people that do good things for our community. And this evening I have a special honor that I get to present a proclamation in recognition and appreciation to Dave Ladge and Jim Maxwell. So if I could, I'd like to read this because I think it's so important that everyone in the community know what they did to receive this recognition. Dave? And are we representing Jim?
I am.
You are?
Yeah, he's working.
So he's working? So one of you had to work and one of you got to come here.
I got to go.
Okay. Well, we appreciate that because I think it's so important that you're here this evening to receive this recognition. Whereas the mayor and city council of the city of Troy express their appreciation to Petco General Manager Dave Ladge and Manager Jim Maxwell in recognition of their assistance and dedication to their customers. And whereas on November morning, while shopping at the Troy Petco at 1217 Coolidge Road, Troy resident Vivian Aylesworth dropped an envelope containing a large sum of money. And whereas Petco manager Jim Maxwell found the envelope and turned it over to General Manager Dave Ladge. The only information on that envelope was the name of a specific cat food. And whereas Dave was determined to find out who the money belonged to, so he started investigating, and I think our police department representatives here are going to be in envy of his investigative abilities, but based on the cat food brand written on the envelope, he checked the Petco records to find out what customers had purchased this cat food at Petco recently. A charge receipt from the day the envelope was found and another one a few weeks ago led Dave to customer Amy Dickerson, Vivian's daughter. And whereas Dave was able to return the money to Vivian a very grateful Petco customer. So now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and city council express the city's appreciation and recognition to Petco General Manager Dave Ladge and Manager Jim Maxwell for finding a customer's envelope of cash, taking the time to find out who the money belonged to, and returning it to its rightful owner. And be it further resolved that the mayor and the city council congratulate Dave Ladge and Jim Maxwell for being conscientious, honest, and dedicated to Petco employees. It's presented this 15th day of December 2014. It's signed by myself, the mayor, and all city council members that are here this evening. I mean, congratulations, and you know, we're so proud to have residents and people like you that do what's right. Congratulations. Thanks. I'm going to give the opportunity to say a few words tonight. Come on up here, please.
Well, one thing I just wanted to voice my appreciation orally for what they did for me. I appreciate it, and the money was going for good use. I also just wanted to say, not having to do with that, but I did vote for some of the people here in the recent election. And I also would like to say that my husband fought in World War II. He was in the Air Force on the ground, and he was stationed in Kwajalein Island in the Pacific. And his name is on a plaque out in front of the City Hall. So just like him to be remembered. He's passed away.
I really appreciate all that Dave did when he called me that day and asked if I'd bought anything, and I thought, geez, I just called my mom, who was up at the shopping center, and asked her to pick up that cat food for me because I knew she was up there, and we each have each other's credit card. So if she needs to buy me something or I need to get something for her, we can do that. And so I told him I was pretty sure it was her money, and I was amazed at how he tracked us down. Hopefully there aren't a lot of people buying that particular cat food.
Some, but narrowed it down.
Yeah, so that was just amazing to me that you could drop that much money on the ground and that somebody would actually find it and you'd actually get it back. So, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Good evening.
With that great story, we're going to take a recess for 5 minutes before we move on to C2. So we'll be in recess for 5 minutes. Thank you.
you know, is here right now.
Thank you. We are back in session. Next on the agenda is C2, which is Trails and Tales, presented by Marcus Vanderpool, Community Affairs Assistant, and Kurt Bovenseep, Public Works Manager. Good evening, guys.
Good evening, and what an exciting time. As the mayor said, this is Marcus Vanderpool. He actually moved over to the DPW here today, so he's a next assistant at the DPW to broaden his horizons. So he's learning all about infrastructure.
Wow.
First, I'd like to say what an exciting time here in the city. We haven't had some development with leisure services or cultural things like this in a very long time. So it's very exciting just to be beginning talking about it. And there was, through both of these plans, the trails and the dog park that we're going to discuss tonight, there was a lot of cross-departmental collaboration, planning, engineering, recreation, parks, DPW, so and some other consultants. So there's a lot of participants are even here in the audience today. So kind of where we're coming from is why are we talking about trails in the dog park is it all goes back to our 2007 Parks and Recreation Master Plan, where the 42% of the participants wanted a walking or biking path. And we saw that again in our 2014 Parks and Recreation Master Plan survey, and that number increased to 52% that thought it was very important that the city have a passive recreation pathway and trail system. And for the dog park in 2007 survey, 19% thought it was said that it was their first, second, and third choice for new facilities. And we saw the biggest jump in the 2014 survey that increased to 48%. That the participants said that this is their first, second, or third choice for new facilities within the city of Troy. And to further substantiate that, there's a lot of dogs licensed in the city of Troy, over 5,300 dogs licensed. That's according to the Oakland County Animal Control. And we're assuming that number's pretty accurate since the census went around this past summer.
It did indeed.
And for the trail system, the top 11 strategies is number 8 that the council adopted just very shortly ago to update and take a look at the funding opportunities for a trails and pathway plan. So we're gonna begin our discussion to specifically talk about the trails and pathways, and we had to go with some assumptions. And those assumptions were to help us put together a plan. So we went under the assumption that the Troy School District, the Water Resource Commission, would grant us easements to go across their property. That we had community support. The plan calls for going in front of, behind, and a side of houses that we currently have right of way where we might have easements. So we had to go under the assumption that the community supported our efforts. And the funding, that the funding was available to leverage grant opportunities that we could apply for. So now we're going to get into the proposal, and where the proposal came from, and it's an appendix in the 2014 Parks and Recreation Master Plan, is in 2009, Greenway Collaborative put together a complete trails and pathways master plan for the city of Troy. And again, that's in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan as an appendix. But what that plan really was, it was beyond passive recreation. It was to look at different ways to transport people throughout the city of Troy. So it was a very, very comprehensive plan. And what our team did is we plucked out what we thought was the best opportunity for that passive recreation. So as you can see, where we took the trails and pathways out of that 2009 master plan, it goes through the center of the city of Troy. It starts really at City Hall and ends up at South Boulevard and Adams. And for good reason. It ends at South Boulevard and Adams. Here's a slide that shows you some of the regional trails in the area, and probably most importantly, and closest to us is the Clinton River Trail. So it provides us opportunity for connectivity. Currently, there is a paved pathway in Auburn Hills at South Boulevard and Adams on their side that runs through Gray Road that connects to the Clinton River Trail. So connectivity is very important, not only from a standpoint of use, but also from a standpoint of funding. There's more grant opportunities if we connect to that regional trail, because the Clinton River Trail is forecasted to actually go the entire width of the state. But unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of Rochester Hills and Auburn Hills that have abandoned rail right-of-ways. So we had to come up with a plan that both used dedicated pathway, which is your Class 1 path, and it had some shared use. We really narrowed the shared use down to the local roads, because statistically people are more comfortable to share the road with a vehicle if they're going 25 miles an hour opposed to 45 on a major road. So you see in the map up there that the shared use throughout the city in the plan, and it's about a 50-50 mix. This is an example of our current right-of-way that we own. This is an entrance off the subdivision into Firefighters Park in the northeast corner. The right-of-way is 10 feet. There's only a 5-foot walk now. So the plan calls for using a lot of these throughout the city, removing the sidewalk, the 5-foot sidewalk, and replacing it with a 10-foot or a little bit narrow 9-foot pathway. And this would be an example of your Class 1 dedicated pathway for bicycles and pedestrians, with some pavement markings for place and location, and give people an idea where they're at and where they're headed. When we looked at the plan, we tried to, incorporate the entire city, but with one trail and pathway that was difficult to do. So we went to statistics, and statistics show that people are willing to travel either by bike or walking 8 minutes to get to a trail and use it from there. So we drew a map here encompassing the inner ring would be the walking distance. Those are the people that would be willing to walk to the trail, and the outer ring would be those that are willing to bike to the trail. So you could see how many people were really were affecting with this trail, and how many participants we could actually have. And not only that, those people that live outside that ring that wanted to drive to it, the plan goes through several parks in the city of Troy that could eventually become trailheads, so parking opportunities and such. And we divided the plan up into 4 segments, and as I stated, segment 1 is probably the most important segment because it provides us that connectivity to the Clinton River Trail. It also goes through Firefighters Park, which is Troy's largest park, so got some natural amenities there. Segment 2 would be from Firefighters Park to Sylvan Glen Park. Uses some shared use, goes through some natural features such as North Glen Park, the behind Fire Station number 2, and goes into Martell Elementary School. So quite a few natural features there. Uses some unused pathway at Sylvan Glen Park, again, which offers another opportunity for a trailhead. Sylvan Glen to the proposed dog park, and Marcus is going to talk about the proposed dog park here in just a few minutes. But this plan here, this segment here from Sylvan Glen to the dog park goes through a lot of natural features that people aren't aware of. Just south of Waddles Road, that's the Water Resource Commission. There's some floodplain and some wetland area in there, but absolutely beautiful native ground that would lend really well to an elevated boardwalk that gives that sense of place or I'm in nature for that passive recreation pathway. And then the shortest segment, which is segment 4, connects that subdivision through the proposed dog park site to City Hall. Connecting to City Hall lends us a lot of opportunity to connect to Big Beaver. We've talked about the Big Beaver Symposium and the walkability of Troy, so it's all about connection. Although there isn't any dedicated regional pathway along Big Beaver except when you get over closer to Metro Beach, but it does provide an opportunity to connect that through sidewalk or later down the road, change that sidewalk to a pathway. So we had to come up with some preliminary cost, and we didn't divide it up into segments, we just divided it up in the type of work. And I would like to mention that currently in the capital improvement plan, we do have funds budgeted for a trail and pathway, but they are an 80% outside funding and 20% city match. Grant opportunities might be a little limited with that, but it is represented in the CIP. And Marcus is going to go ahead and take over for the dog park.
Thank you.
I'd first like to say thank you, Kurt, and thank you, City Council, for allowing us to talk on this wonderful plan. We're very excited about it. We've identified the ideal area for this dog park. It is just east of Livernois, north of town center. It's 16.5 acres, and we feel this is a great size for the dog park because it allows us room for expansion, and it also allows room for other recreational activities. Just to give you a kind of an idea on dog parks that are around Troy, as you can see, there's not many around, and the ones that are close to Troy are not very close for maybe residents that live in the north part of Troy. So city staff visited all these different parks and kind of checked out the necessities and things that we liked and things that we did not like, and kind of went to the drawing board and tried to come up with a plan. As you can see right here are the preliminary costs to build a dog park. This is just including the necessities. This is pretty bare bones here. The earthwork, as you can see, just to prepare the land for this, the pavement of the parking and the walkways, along with the fencing, so there's not dogs everywhere. And you can see this is north of $300,000. This right here is just a conceptual plan. It was drawn by Carlisle and Wortman. This includes all of the things that city staff really enjoyed about the dog parks that we visited, and we wanted to incorporate all of them into the plan if we are going to do this. There's a few things that I would like to point out here, and it's the different areas for the dogs. There's a large dog area and there's a small dog area. As you can see, there's multiple areas for both of these. This will reduce cost of maintenance because it allows you to rotate fields. I would also like to point out all the different amenities that this includes. It includes park shelters, it includes water fountains, and the main entry plaza, they'll have bathrooms for the dog owners. And most importantly, I would like to point out that blue line that is going through the middle of the conceptual plan. This addresses a pretty important issue, and Mr. Savage has brought this up a few times, is it addresses the issue of connectedness throughout the city. The pathway will connect the east side subdivision, it'll take you through the park, and it'll take you to Livernois, which connects the town center. So it's connecting City Hall, it's connecting a park to a subdivision. And more importantly, how are we going to pay for this? As you can see, it's 80-20. Kurt touched on this. It's the same deal that was addressed earlier. The Parks and Recreation Board has created a development committee that's chaired by Mr. Steve Toth, and the 80% is going to be through donations, sponsorships, and grants, and then the 20% is in the CIP plan.
So today we're looking for some consensus or directives to move forward. We did get an opportunity to talk with Phil Sanzika, who's a planning commission member who also works for the Water Resource Commission, to get his thoughts on allowing the city easements, and he's pretty excited about, so we have an advocate there. And Gary Hoff, who's on the Troy School District Board, who's also on the Troy Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, did see both plans and is an advocate to the Troy School District. So, but we want to formalize those discussions with those partners, so we're asking for consensus to move forward to discuss with the Troy School District and the Water Resource Commission of Oakland County. Furthermore, the funding options, we're not asking for any appropriation today, but we do need consensus to move forward with the application of grants and start researching grants and such, because that does take time. That includes the Transportation Alternative Program, which is through MDOT and SEMCOG, and to approach SEMCOG. SEMCOG is, I think, going to be one of our largest partners in the trails and pathways. I went to a conference at SEMCOG to identify some of the areas where there's no connectivity, and I was able to point out, and it's on their current map, that there's this black hole of Troy because there's no connectivity, which presents a great opportunity for partnerships and grant funds, because SEMCOG wants that connectivity. And the dog park, should we begin fundraising for the dog park? The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board did have a subcommittee or development committee who is chaired by Steve Toth. They're ready to move forward with your consensus to go ahead and start fundraising for that project. And then the city would like to move forward to look at those community sponsorships for that project. We've got a lot of input from residents already, so we did post a website and a Facebook page where people can go to get for information after today, so we can bring them up to speed so they can be a part of this process.
Great, thank you. Any initial questions for Kurt or Councilman, who is first? Okay. Councilman Henderson.
On the 80-20 split on the dog park, if we get grants, that would go towards the 80% or towards our 20%?
The way it's set up is it would classify as revenue, so it would go towards the 80% of outside funding.
Councilman Pennington.
Curtis, got a quick question on the paths that are there already. Do they have to be eliminated? Are they in disrepair, or can they, or you just want to eliminate those just so they all look the same, or?
Was that a question on the paths?
Yeah, the paths that are.
We have almost 520 miles of sidewalk already. So the question is why aren't people using that? Because it doesn't give that feel of a pathway. So the Trails and Pathways plan does call to replace any sidewalk with a wider pathway and of different material, usually asphalt, to give that feel and direction that it's a dedicated pathway.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councilman Henderson.
And it just brought up another question. So if we've seen the bike path signs, so your plan would then take out those sidewalks in those areas and put wider blacktop paths through somebody's yard potentially, or?
Yep. The picture that I showed you of the existing right-of-way, that's something that would be replaced. When the pathway goes, the Trails and Pathway goes through a local road, it becomes a shared use, so it doesn't use the sidewalk stays. What a lot of communities have done is they've delineated a lane on your no parking side as the bike and pathway. So it lets motorists know that there is a pathway there, but it does not encourage bicycles to go onto the sidewalk. So that would not be replaced, that concrete would not be replaced, or that substrate, whatever it may be, whether it be asphalt, it would just be delineated with pavement markings. If you get a chance, Ferndale did something very similar in their downtown district, where they painted the intersections of bicycles and vehicles different colors, so it delineates it very well.
Councilman Teets.
I had a question about the funding for the Trails and Pathways. So the estimated price is roughly $3 million. And you're asking to go and see if you can find grants, 80-20 grants, to fund 80% of that $3 million. Is that correct?
I guess specifically I'm not asking to move forward with trying to find 80%. I'm asking to move forward with just finding grants in general. I don't know what people will bring to the table at this point. If we're not looking for, we talked with Norm Cox, who was the one who originally put the 2009 plan together. He's probably the more expert on grants. But he said there's probably not too many opportunities for trust fund grants, which is your 50-50. So we're going to have to look elsewhere, like SEMCOG, like I mentioned, the TAP grant. We're not sure how those are set up and what percentage the city will have to come. I'm suggesting that the 80-20 is how it was planned out in the capital improvement plan.
80% from the city, or
80% outside funding, 20% city funding.
That was the capital improvement plan, wasn't it?
That's correct.
Any other questions?
That's good. Nice plan.
Well, it seems to me that this council wouldn't know how to proceed without knowing whether there are funds out there available to see if 80-20 is even possible. So it just kind of makes sense to me to give you some direction. There's consensus to go out there and see what's out there before we can even think about doing this. That's the way I look at it. Councilman Fleming.
Well, I think the first step you've done, and that's to have a viable plan, which you've got. You had to have something to present. So you've done a lot of all the legwork now. It's a matter of using this as a tool to present to other people, and I would be in support of that if you're looking just for nods of the head, to go out and see what you can do, because you've done the legwork now. Thank you, and a nice job. I like it.
Thank you.
Very nice.
The question is whether we can get the 80% or 70% or 65% or whatever, and then it becomes a council decision to what we can afford to budget. But something's been on our agenda and the radar for a long time. So thank you for moving this forward.
We get some money from Oakland County. We know somebody on the commission up there now.
Don't think I can write a check yet. Don't have that signature approval yet.
Councilwoman Hoderick.
I agree. It makes sense to see what we what we can do. We don't know at this point. I love the dreaming and scheming, and it's a customer focus that I see here, because people ask about these things all the time at the city. Even during the downturn, people looking to move in would ask, you know, do we have a dog park? This is a very real customer-driven type of effort, and I know it has been on the radar of the council before I was on it. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can come up with. Let's see what we can deliver to people who've been looking for it.
Any other council comments? Sounds like you have consensus.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Look forward to the next report. Thank you. C3 is Troy's 60th birthday party with a presentation by Cindy Stewart, Community Affairs Director, and Lorraine Campbell, our Village Director. Good evening.
Good evening. Bob, there you go. 2015 marks the City of Troy's 60th birthday party, and the 60th anniversary of our incorporation as a city. So in 2015, we are going to celebrate where we've been, where we are, and where we're going.
I always tell you where you've been. So 1955 was a pivotal year in your community's history. Troy Township faced increasing attempts by cities on the south border, including Royal Oak, Clawson, and Birmingham, to annex township land to their cities. Keep in mind that cities cannot access cities, but townships can access, or cities can accept township lands. And in 1955, Royal Oak was poised to annex a large tract of land in Section 32, land that was being developed into a research and development facility that was going to bring Troy Township $20,000 a year in tax revenues. There was a quiet deal with Royal Oak to annex that property. And Troy leadership understood that becoming a home rule city was their best option to preserve both their geography and their tax base. So the leadership, which had a great deal of vision, sprang into action in March of 1955. Now, they met in secret in a private home. They platted their proposed city. They wrote the proper petitions, and in one weekend, they gathered all the signatures required to submit an application to become a home-ruled city, as opposed to Royal Oak's petitions to annex that parcel. They left their homes at 6 o'clock on Monday morning to get to Oakland County's courthouse and file their petitions before Royal Oak could get there. Those applications were followed by an election in June, sort of a straw poll, if you will, to determine if the majority of citizens, in fact, wanted to live in a city. They voted 9-1 in favor of home rule incorporation. And in that election, they also selected their charter commission. Those gentlemen spent the entire summer writing the charter that you actually lived by this evening when you interviewed applicants for city council. So their vision is living in you tonight. The big issues that were discussed and, quite frankly, argued during that summer were A, how were the Troy citizens going to levy taxes on themselves, and B, how were they going to elect their mayor? Were they going to do it by a direct election, or were they going to have their city council appoint a mayor? You know how it turned out. In September, the completed charter was approved by Governor G. Mennen Williams, and there was a final election on December 12, 1955, when the citizens approved the charter, this time by a very slim 86-vote margin. They also elected that evening their first mayor, Tom Costello, who is far left in the picture on the screen, the city commissioners, who you see there, and two justices, a justice of the peace and another justice who served the community. Mayor Costello's first official act was to appoint Norman Barnard, the outgoing township supervisor, as the first acting city manager of Troy. This group of men faced many challenges in the next few years, but they showed great vision. The first thing they did was bring City of Detroit water to Troy so that the communities, the residential subdivisions that we have could actually be built and businesses could expand. They also developed the first master site plan, really leaving a footprint on the community that you still see today. And third, within 10 years, they were part of the group that helped to determine the unique route of I-75 through Troy, which truly made us a destination city in Oakland County. These are your predecessors, your men of vision, and you are continuing to live that vision today.
And that's where we've been. And this year, we're also looking at where we are. Some of the big projects were Troy Roads Rock, Interaction Troy, the next professional development program, 15 for 15, that's coming up in early 2015. And Move Across Troy, the Big Beaver Road Pedestrian Symposium. Now where we're going to connect businesses, we're going to increase the use of data, and we're going to improve public-facing technology. And as you saw from our 6 o'clock meeting, we're going to communicate a consistent brand identity. So all this, we're coming up with a 60th birthday timeline. This is nothing's in stone yet, but we've asked all the departments and our facilities, police, fire, library, the community center, the historic village, and the nature center to come up with some special events for the 60th. And we will have a 60th birthday party on June 20th at Boland Park. Plans are still in the making. And you can go to that website, and as we have more information, we'll be putting it all on our city website. You'll be seeing exhibits. We'll use the Troy Today. We'll use our cable channel and our website for information. I think that's it. So stay tuned for more information.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellent. That concludes the get my computer back here. That concludes our certificates of recognition and special presentations. Next on the agenda, there are no carryover items, no public hearings, so we will move to public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. And I will call on Edna Abraham, resident, to speak on M2. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council and City staff. And if I may, I'd like to direct my first comments to Councilman Fleming. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for your years of service here in our community. It's not an easy job, and we may not always see eye to eye, but you've taken the time to listen with great cordiality, and I really appreciate that. And now as you step into your new role as Commissioner, you'll be representing me again, and I look forward to that as well. Okay. Now for the remaining council, you've got a big job ahead of you tonight. It's an important decision you have to make filling Mr. Fleming's seat, and it's not an easy task, and I don't think there's many people that would envy your role. But I take heart in knowing that you've gone through this process not too long ago, and I think to very nice effect. So I appreciate the time you've taken in selecting the slate of candidates that you have. I think you've clearly shown a lot of discernment in picking those 6 candidates. So I only ask tonight that as you think through this process and reflect on the candidates, that you think of a few things. One is how each candidate's strengths, talents, and experience can really mesh with the existing council and your strengths, talents, and experience. I think that's a very important factor to have a cohesive council. I ask that you consider the connection that each of these candidates has with the Troy community today and their ability to leverage that going forward as a council member. I would also ask that you carefully consider each candidate's work experience and how that can be used to better strengthen the community, the business community and the ties to it, as they're a very important part of our tax base, as you all well know. And lastly, this part is a little bit hard to quantify. It's one of those intangibles. But I would ask that you consider which candidate could best represent the diverse community and the diverse needs of Troy residents. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes those that have signed up to speak in public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents. Is there any response from the City Council or City Administration? There are no postponed items, so we will move to regular business. There are no mayoral appointments this evening, so I will turn the microphone over to Mayor Pro Tem Campbell for City Council appointments.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight we're going to be doing the Building Code or Building Board of Appeals. Our last meeting we put up Andrew Schuster and Theodore Drusman, and I'd like to put them forward to be elected those positions tonight if we can.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Campbell and supported by Councilman Fleming that we appoint Andrew Schuster and Theodore Drusman to the Building Code Board of Appeals for the terms that expire 1/1/2020. Discussion. The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Yes.
City Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Motion passes. I-2 is board and committee nominations. This evening, I have two positions that I would choose to move for nomination on the Planning Commission. One is Karen Cruz for the term that expires 12/31/2017, and Thomas Stratt also to the Planning Commission for the term that expires 12/31/2017. Moved by the chair, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Campbell, that we appoint Karen Cruz and Thomas Stratt to the Planning Commission for the terms to expire 12/31/2017. Discussion. The vote, Ms. Bittner.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes. Motion passes. There are no city council nominations this evening, so I-3, there are no closed session requests. So we will move to I-4, an agreement with North Woodward Community Foundation, NWCF, for use of public property for Troy Family Days Festival, with an introduction by Kurt Bovensee, Public Works Manager. Good evening again, Kurt.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Still an exciting time, right? So just
So far.
Yeah. Brief history. Troy Days Festival has been going on in the city of Troy since 1968, and in 2011, the North Woodward Community Foundation took that over and was held at Zion Christian Church. July 24th, 2014, we held a special study session where council gave consensus to move forward with negotiations with the North Woodward Community Foundation to host that event on City of Troy property. During that consensus, there was also an agreement that the City of Troy would waive the requirement of sealed bid because of North Woodward Community Foundation's past experience and their experience in running a festival that size. So I'm here before you to present a contract that was negotiated between the North Woodward Community Foundation and the City of Troy. Some of those highlights are it is an 8-year contract with the foundation, and it is to be held at the Civic Center site, which is highlighted in Exhibit 1 in the contract that's up on the screen now. You'll see that the tennis bubble parking is excluded in what we originally discussed because the festival dates did change where the tennis bubble is in operation during the festival time now. So it is excluded. The tennis bubble will still continue to have access without disrupting the festival for their regular programs. And for as far as funding goes, it does require the North Woodward Community Foundation to provide the city of Troy with $10,000 for each year the festival is hosted on city property during the duration of the contract, with a consumer price index increase not to exceed 2% a year. So I'm welcome to answer any questions.
Any questions for Kurt? We appreciate the work that the administration and the foundation did to come to this agreement. It's certainly well worth the effort, I believe, and thank you. Someone would like to move and read the resolution, please?
Yeah, I'd be happy to move that.
Councilman Fleming.
Resolved that the Troy City Council finds that it is in the best interest of the city to waive the requirement of a sealed bid procedure pursuant to Section Chapter 12.1 of the City Charter. The agreement for the use of public property for Troy Family Days Festival is hereby approved, and the mayor and city clerk are authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city of Troy. Be it further resolved that a copy of this agreement shall be attached to the original minutes of this meeting.
Support. Thank you. Moved by Councilman Fleming, supported by the entire council. Is there a discussion? I know Ms. Bittner doesn't like me to do that, but everybody speaks at once.
I'll make it work.
Thanks. I know you will.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
I'm sorry.
No, that wasn't a yes. Pass. I'm a member of the board. Abstain. That's exactly what I meant to say. Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Yes.
Motion passes. I forgot that you were on the board there, Councilman Teets. Thank you for remembering.
Yeah, that was close. Moments away from filling another vacancy.
Motion passes, and congratulations. We look forward to the festival being back on city property, and it's a good day for us. Thank you for all you do. Next is the consent agenda. Is there any items on the consent agenda that council wishes to pull this evening? Councilman Henderson.
I'd like to move all the items on the consent agenda as printed. Second.
Moved by Councilman Henderson, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Campbell, that we approve all items on the consent agenda as presented this evening. Discussion. The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next are memorandums and future council agenda items. There are none this evening. So we will move to public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses, and I will call on Edward Lee, a business owner in Troy. Good evening.
Oh, good evening. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ed Lee, and I operate a public charity, a 501c3. Transformations of educational empowerment. What we do is that we operate workshops at the Troy Community Center. We help immigrants with their English, and we introduce American history and culture. We do not teach English as a second language, but we focus on developing speech and conversation. And we also point out the many opportunities that are available to our students. The Troy Community Center has been offering our classes without charge and rent-free until this last fall term, in which they started to charge our students a $10 fee for each course. And as a result, enrollment dropped dramatically. Now, I believe that the $10 charge is a deterrent from our immigrant students in the Troy area from enrolling in our classes. And our public charity receives no assistance and no public funding from anybody from anywhere. And our volunteers and myself, we get no compensation. And so we're not able to provide any of the expenses. I would like to ask that the $10 fee charged for each student at the Troy Community Center taking our English skills class be waived. And I also ask that the Troy Community Center continue to provide us with classrooms to conduct our workshop at no charge. The population of Troy is about 83,000, and of that, 20% are minorities, and of that, 72% are foreign-born. Now, what this amounts to is that 9% of the population of Troy speak very little English or not at all. Now, America is known as the melting pot, where we're a country of immigrants working together and living together. Actually, not really. Instead...
Mr. Lee, your time has expired. Can you wrap it up in about 30 seconds, please?
Oh, 30 seconds? Okay. Well, I believe that the city of Troy is number one responsibility is to offer security and a secure environment for the taxpayers of city of Troy. And by providing classes and being able to assimilate the immigrant residents of Troy in this city will provide the security, because we're faced with racial strife and ethnic tension, and we need to reach out and develop a trusting and caring relationship and bring all the residents together.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you. Perhaps we could get a response, City Manager, if he wishes at this point, or wait till council comments.
Well, at this point, I would just like to say, once we take a break or after the meeting, I'd be happy to talk to the gentleman and work things out and see what we could do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lee, if you hang around for about 15 minutes, somebody will speak with you, okay? Please hang around for about 15 minutes and somebody will speak with you tonight. Next on the agenda are council referrals. This is a bittersweet portion of tonight's agenda, and I will turn the microphone over to Council Member Fleming at this time, if he wishes to say anything, or
yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Well, it's time for me to get out of the way and let this city council do their business, which is to appoint someone to take my place until next November, the regular election. I'd just like to say it has been a real pleasure and honor to serve the citizens of Troy for the past 9 years. It always hasn't been fun. There have been some difficult times, but I think I'm leaving the city now, not because of me, but because of the team we have, in excellent hands. Whoever you appoint, I think you've got 6 excellent candidates. I'm not going very far. I'll still be living in Troy. I'll be serving on the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. You'll still be seeing me attending meetings from time to time, if you'll let me, maybe to bring a report on the county. I look forward to continuing to serve all the citizens of Troy, as well as the citizens of Clawson and part of Royal Oak. But again, it has been a real pleasure. I'll miss this. I appreciate every one of you. This council has really come together, and we've done a number of important things. I'm not going to elaborate on them, but one thing I think this council has done, and it's probably one of the most important things we do, we appointed a city manager and hired a city manager that was a right man at the right time. We were coming out of a very difficult time. I think this city manager, Brian Kishnick, that we all unanimously agreed to hire, has led this, with a little coaxing, has led this city in the right direction. And seriously, I see a change in attitude of this city. It was not bad before, but I mean, it's fun now up here. There was a time it was not fun. But now I think under the right leadership of this council and the mayor and the whole team, and spearheaded by a city manager here, he's brought this city together. We're making good decisions. We're doing the right things. And I think I would not want to leave this council if we were in a situation we were in just a few years ago, really struggling. But I think we've got our act together. The budget's doing well. And I look forward to continuing to serve all the citizens just at a different level at County Commission. So I've given my letter of resignation. I'll get out of the way. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. Thank you.
You know, Wade, we're not going to let you go that fast. Please sit down. We haven't even passed the resolution yet.
I was headed for the door.
I'm going to give each council member an opportunity to speak on this resolution, but before we do that, I am going to move the resolution that Troy City Council hereby accepts the resignation of Councilmember Fleming. Be it further resolved that Detroit City Council hereby declares vacant the City Council member office formerly held by Wade Fleming. Moved by the chair and supported by Mayor Pro Tem Campbell that we accept the resignation of Councilmember Fleming. Now we'll have a discussion. And I'm going to start with Councilwoman Hoderick.
Councilman Fleming, we've actually had a great time working together since I just started on council in November. Those that have watched proceedings over the past several years may find that to be a surprise, but when you get to know Councilman Fleming, he's a gentleman, he's been a mentor, he's been fun, and we find ourselves attending all the same events that are optional to us, to the point that we started to giggle and we were worried there would be rumors. I've really appreciated how you took me under wing. And his experience, 9 years here, going over to the Oakland County Commission, is going to serve us very, very well. You know you have friends here. If there's anything we can ever do for you there, I consider you a friend and someone I want to continue to serve the public with, and I appreciate your time here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Henderson.
Commissioner Fleming, it's he prompted me to run for council when I was absolutely dead set against doing so, and I really appreciate the nudge, because it's been tough and it's been fun, and you've mentored me in a lot of situations that, you know, when I didn't know anything about anything up here, you've been a big help. And your family is the greatest. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Dan.
Appreciate your help.
Appreciate it.
Councilman Pennington.
Wade, I want to thank you for helping me out when I was appointed to council. I didn't know you as a man, and I'm glad I got to know you. You've been a big help for me whenever I had questions, and I appreciate your tutelage and your support and your service to Troy. We have something in common we haven't got to do yet. I just bought a motorcycle, and Wade's been riding for years, so we'll have to get out and ride together, and I hope we do that soon.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Teets.
Just wish you the best, Wade. Wade is one of probably the first people I got to know well in the city, and you can tell a lot by how a person acts when no one's paying attention or no one knows or what they're up to. And Wade is an incredibly generous person of his time, resources, and many times I'll say, well, what have you been doing today? And he'll list off several things that nobody else knows about, no one knows that he's been working on, or projects, or, I got to get this one thing accomplished. And so, it's really been a blessing to know you, and nothing's changing. You're just going someplace else for your meetings. So all that said, you'll do fantastic, and frankly, the folks of Oakland County are very fortunate to have you, and I think the citizens of the city of Troy and Clawson and Royal Oak are very blessed to have somebody that is an advocate and doesn't ask who you know or who are your friends with before they help them. Wade is just there to help you and be a friend. So thank you very much for everything, Wade.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell.
Okay, Wade.
Here it comes.
No, it's been a pleasure working with you. I've learned a lot from you. We obviously had business outside of the city that we did a while back, and that was a pleasure. But I learned a lot from you. We maybe didn't always agree on things, but it never came to where they had to call Gary or anything else. It was always pretty good. So I appreciate everything I learned from you. I appreciate all your input, and you've helped me a lot over the last 4 years, and I wish you and Paul all the best. And I know you do a great job out there, but we'll miss you. We won't.
Well, Wade, during your campaign for commissioner, I got the honor of going to some of your fundraisers, and you actually let me say some things about you at those fundraisers. And my main theme always was that this is bittersweet for me. It's bittersweet for Troy that we're missing you for being on our council, but for the good of Troy, it's going to be good to have you as a commissioner up there, because if there's one thing I've learned in the past 5 years, and I've known you longer than 5 years, but on council, is that all of your decisions are really what's in the best interest of Troy. And I learned that more than ever when the transit center issue was being debated. And you and I spent many hours in private, and I know you took your lumps for that. And I knew then that you made your decisions based on what you felt was best for Troy. And you gained my respect then more than ever. So I thank you for all you've done for this city and this community. I know you're gonna serve in a bigger capacity somewhat by being up at Oakland County. And I know Wade's always, his main intent is to make sure that we are fiscally responsible with the citizens' money. And now, not only are you going to move from Troy, but you're going to be in charge of our money that's in Oakland County. So I wish you all the best. We become friends, I think, even closer in the last few years. And thank you so much for what you've done for Troy. And best of luck to you and Paula. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And now we'll stand. We're going to take a recess for 5 minutes. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Wait, the tiebreaker.
We are back in session. Now, we will have a vote on M1 as to whether to accept Councilman Fleming's letter of resignation. The vote, Ms. Bittner?
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teets?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Motion passes. Good luck, Wade. Next on the agenda is M2, which is the City Council member appointment. I would like to go over the rules that we have come up with to make the selection. These rules somewhat, or they do mirror the rules that we use to make the selection for Councilman Pennington, the selection of City Manager Kishnick.
So 50-50% chance of being
There's a
successful.
50% chance, yeah.
Pretty much.
So what we will, I will call out a candidate's name, and if that particular candidate is chosen by a member of council, he or she will raise their hand. We will go through that process. If we have a majority, the first vote, then the selection will have been made. If there is 4 votes, consensus, to move the resolution, then the resolution can be moved with 4 votes. Any questions on round 1?
We're going to go.
Councilman Teets.
Are we going to go in the order that they interviewed?
Yes.
Thank you.
If we do not pick a candidate in round 1, there will be round 2. We will whittle it down to 2 candidates, and then there will be 1 vote on those 2 candidates if there is a tie. Any questions? Nope. Good luck to all the candidates. I hope you understand this was not easy for any of us. This is a very difficult decision. But I think the city will be in good hands with whatever selection we make tonight. Ms. Bittner, are you going to keep track of the votes?
Yes.
Thank you. First candidate is Steve Gottlieb. Please raise your hand on council if you're... Next candidate is Padma Kupa. Next candidate is Paul McCown. Next candidate is James Peard. Next candidate is Steve Toth. Next candidate is Scott Wellborn. My unofficial vote was 3-3 and 3. Is that correct?
Correct for Mr. Gottlieb, Ms. Koopa, and Mr. McCown.
Okay. Round 2 will be 1 vote for each of the candidates, those top 3. Our first candidate is Steve Gottlieb. Next candidate is Padma Kupa. Next candidate is Paul McCown. Three.
For, 3-3 for Ms. Koopa and Mr. McCown.
Okay, we'll be in recess for 5 minutes. We'll be back. We will be back in session. We will vote one more time on Padma Kupa and Paul McCowan. If there is a tie, we'll have some discussion after that. Those in favor of Padma Kupa, raise their hand. Those in favor of Paul McCowan, raise their hand. Okay, we have the option of tabling this until next meeting, unless there are other suggestions at this point.
Table it till next meeting.
If there is, somebody wants to suggest another candidate to break the tie, that's always an option at this point.
Postpone it.
Is there an alternative that anyone would like to discuss, or is it going to be 3-3 tonight? Pardon?
Do you have something you're leaning towards or proposing something else?
Well, if there's a third person that would get 4 votes as opposed to 3, that's always a possibility. If somebody would like to bring a name up forward. Want to move that? Mayor Pro Tem Campbell.
Yeah, I think based on the fact we voted twice and we're 3 and 3, I think we maybe, the best thing to do is just postpone it till our next meeting and take another vote or have, maybe even have the candidates come back one more time, the last 2 candidates for another interview. I think we should just move it because we're not making any progress here.
Is there support for the postpone? Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Campbell, supported by Councilman Henderson. We postpone item M2 to the next council meeting of January 12th, 2015. Discussion. Councilman Teets.
So, former Councilman Fleming resigned tonight, and so there are 30 days in which to fill the vacancy? Gotcha.
That is correct. Under the charter, you do have 30 days to make an appointment for a vacancy.
Perfect. Okay.
Councilman Pennington.
I'd like to make a suggestion that on our first vote, we came up with 3 candidates, so we consider 3 going forward.
Should we, well,
we're voting on a postponement at this point. Did you want to amend the postponement to include having 3 candidates instead of 2?
Yes.
Is there support for that?
I'm confused as to what now we're voting on, or what just was moved.
I'd like to move that we have 3 candidates available in January instead of just the 2 that when it came down to the second vote.
I support.
So we have a third option.
Okay, moved by Councilman Pennington and supported by Councilman Henderson that we include the candidates of Steve Gottlieb, Padma Kupa, and Paul McCowan for the January 12th, 2015 meeting. Discussion on that. Councilwoman Hoderick.
I just, all 6 were outstanding candidates. We have 3 outstanding. I know it's 10 o'clock. I'm struggling with delaying this decision, quite frankly. But if we really feel we can't come up with a way that we could move through and get 4, I guess that's the way it would have to be.
Do you want to take another vote? Is that what you're suggesting?
I think in deference to the candidates, the community, ourselves, maybe we give it one more run so that we've either convinced ourselves we can't come to a conclusion tonight, or maybe we will.
Ms. Bidner?
You do have 2 motions on the floor right now. One is the original postponement, and one is to amend the postponement. So if you were going to act on something, a third different item, you would need to address the first 2.
Just withdraw your motions.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. Both motions have been withdrawn. We will take another vote. Those in favor of Padma Kupa, raise their hands. Those in favor of Paul McCowan, raise their hands.
I wasn't watching.
Neither was I.
I'm just voting my heart and mind, so.
Okay, how about if we do this? How about if we vote on 2 people of the 3 that are left? The 3 that tied, the 3 that all had 3 votes, how about if we just have those 3 candidates and everyone has 2 votes?
We've done that before. That's what got us down to 2. Oh, you want to have 2 hands up?
2 votes.
2 out of the 3.
3 people left, everyone gets 2 votes.
Okay. I'm in favor of that.
Huh?
Is that okay? I think we have consensus. Ms. Bittner, we're going to put Steve Gottlieb, Padma Kupa, Paul McCowan back up for votes, and there will be 2 votes per council member. Steve Gottlieb. Padma Kupa. Paul McCowan. Six, 3, and 3?
Correct.
Would you like to move the resolution, Councilman Pennington?
Yes. I will move the resolution, M2, resolved that Troy City Council hereby appoints Steve Gottlieb, apparently had the 6, to the vacant city council member office with a partial term expiring November 9th, 2015.
Support. Moved by Councilman Pennington, supported by Councilman Henderson, that we appoint Steve Gottlieb to the vacant city council member office with the partial term expiring November 9th, 2015. Discussion. The vote, Ms. Bittner.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Councilmember Teetz?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Campbell?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Congratulations, Steve. I hope everybody understands what happened. Sometimes it's best to compromise when there's a stalemate. Steve, if you would come forward, please. I think we want to swear you in this evening. And please bring your family with you. We will have a formal swearing-in ceremony at the next city council meeting. But I think it's important that we get a council member sworn in this evening.
Guys, this is like Shark Tank.
I do solemnly swear that I'll support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the Charter of the City of Troy, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of City Council Member in and for the City of Troy, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
I do.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. I'll give you an opportunity if you just want to say a couple things, but it's a strange process sometimes, but in the end, decisions are made in the best interest of the city. But congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you all, and I really appreciate the opportunity to serve with you. Thank you again.
Congratulations.
I have a question for the city attorney. Does Mr. Gottlieb have to resign from the Planning Commission?
Yes, Mayor, he will need to do that, and we can help him in facilitating a resignation letter.
Sure. Okay. City attorney will get with you about doing that as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Or there are no meetings until January, is that correct?
Yes.
It's a good joke.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Steve. You want to hang around for a little bit? We'll be done here shortly.
Yes, okay. Thank you, and thank you again.
Thank you. Next is council comments. Anyone wish to make any comments this evening? Councilman Pennington.
We had 6 candidates that are worthy of being up here, and it was a tough process, obviously, for all of us. And so we appreciate the other 5 that did not make it. And we will have another vote in November, and I think we have 5 other candidates that are worthy of running.
I agree. Any other council comments?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Hoderick.
This was the most difficult decision so far at this table. So thank you to everyone who participated, everyone who watched and was engaged. I think what you witnessed here, though, is a council that really is striving to keep moving forward, to make decisions, to bust through where we may have disagreements, and get to a solution that works. And this will work. So I'm really, really grateful that we had so many, even before we narrowed it down to 6, we had great candidates. Speaks to the caliber of this community and how many people care about how it runs. And I appreciate you all for stepping forward.
Any other comments? Next is reports. Anyone on council wish to speak to any report that was on the agenda this evening? Just a comment on 05. I noticed that we got our report from the Road Commission this evening on the table. Although it's not about the update regarding winter maintenance, I just want to share my disappointment in the packet that has 2014, a productive year for roads. And I don't see Troy mentioned here at all. And I'm very disappointed to see that, because I think we did more in our city to fix the roads than any other city in this county. And I'm going to make my disappointment known that at least we didn't make it in their report. We spent $12 million to fix our roads with in joint with the state and the county and the city, and we put a lot of money in that, and not to even be mentioned in their report is extremely disappointing for me. Next on the agenda is comments on items on or not on the agenda from members of the public outside of Troy, not residents of Troy and not from Troy businesses. I don't see that anyone has signed up this evening. There is no closed session scheduled, so we are adjourned. Thank you for coming tonight.